The first name of a burnout and a kind of symptom of burnout really came from someone who was researching medical doctors and nurses, especially in emergency rooms. And so basically it's an exhaustion, right? So it kind of defines as a sense of exhaustion, like you cannot take a break. You know, a lot of this kind of state can be traced back to a sense of life being out of control. Like I'm not in control. I'm not in control of my time. I'm not in control of my life. I'm not in control of my career. I'm not in control of what other people are saying. So if I tell you right now, you know, put together 20 things that you like to do just for the joy of it, just because you're happy to do them, because you like to do them. It could be little things, right? So like I started like, okay, I like to have my cup of coffee in the morning so nobody bothers me, right?
Yeah.
Or it could be, I like to sit outside on the terrace and read a book. You do 3 of those every day.
Oh, wow. That's not easy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you actually put them on the calendar, right? You put them on the calendar, 3 of those every day.
We've curated a vast network of business experts ready to address your company's most pressing challenges. From corporate growth strategy to leadership, marketing strategy, sales strategy, branding, customer relations, technology, AI, IT security, and beyond. I'm speaking to beautiful Victoria Mensch all the way from Bali right now. She's a very educated woman, a very experienced woman in technology and executive leadership. She holds an MBA from UC Berkeley and also a PhD in psychology. She's the owner of 2 technology companies and a mentor to people who are on the path to success. I'm speaking today to Victoria Mensch. Hi, Victoria, welcome.
Hello, Zarina. Thank you very much for having me. I'm happy to be here.
My pleasure. Victoria, 25 years in technology and executive roles. What is the single one thing that you have come to conclude, and it's like a recent realization maybe, or something that you realize about people in high achievement industries?
Right. So what I noticed, and that's kind of why I'm coming to podcast to talk about this. What I noticed among my colleagues, and definitely that's my experience as well, is there is almost an epidemic of burnout, right? So there are all these high achieving people who brick by brick, they build their careers, right? So they have their roadmap of how to get there, what that next achievement is, what's the high achieving path is. And then you brick by brick, you build that high achieving path. And then you come on top of that path and you look around, it's like, oh, there is still something missing, whether it's relationship, whether it's lack of the sense of fulfillment, there's something missing, where you just feel exhausted. It's like you don't see the meaning anymore. So there's something like I achieved everything, yet I feel like I have nothing. So that's kind of my experience as well, and I hear that a lot from people around me, especially in high-tech industry, since my most of the time I spend in Silicon Valley, in that kind of high pace, high stress, very high pressure for innovation environment. So that's kind of my my insight and my revelation is like, oh, okay, so you check all the check boxes, you check all the check marks, you're successful by every standard the society gives you, and yet you don't feel successful. You feel that something is missing. And we know now that it's called a burnout, but it's a signal of something else. So
very interesting. I've had quite a few people talk about burnout, and from what I'm hearing from you, it seems that burnout is caused by a different thing across the different groups of people or different types of employment, because some state that burnout is more like bored out when it comes to employment, right? When you're in a corporation and you're a high achiever, but you have a ceiling there, or there's nowhere to express your purpose. But when it comes to entrepreneurs, I suppose you work with a lot of tech entrepreneurs, high achievers. Is this a difference in their case, or what is their burnout caused by?
Well, it's interesting because if you look at the definition of burnout, kind of academic definition of burnout, right? So this is something that came from a medical industry out of all places. So the first name of a burnout and a kind of symptom of burnout really came from someone who was researching medical doctors and nurses, especially in emergency rooms. And so basically it's an exhaustion, right? So it kind of defines as a sense of exhaustion, like you cannot take a break, no matter how much you sleep or how little you sleep, you have this sense of exhaustion. That's hence the burnout. And since that time, we kind of learned a little bit more that physiologically, it's really a stress reaction, kind of a chronic stress reaction that leads to that. And different people experience it differently. There are obviously similarities on the physiological level and on psychological level as well. So for some people, it's a sense of boredom. For some people, it's a sense of underachievement or lack of motivation. It could be a variety of different symptoms, how this condition kind of manifests itself. But there are some underlying, similarities that can help you to identify this and also kind of take steps to prevent and also sustain kind of the sense of well-being going forward.
Mm-hmm. I had a guest who was a medical surgeon, and he was also in charge of the whole ward, managing other doctors and nurses. And there was a huge burnout. I mean, it's very common, I suppose, in the medical sphere. And he, through experience and applying certain tweaks, he figured out that in that case, in the ward, it was more about the lack of communication. So I guess in the end, the expression of burnout is what you're describing, but the root cause could be different. It could be misunderstanding between people or pressurized by the boss or, whatever the causes are.
Right.
Yeah. What are the major causes that in your experience?
Well, when I talk about burnout, I like to talk about two different levels, right? So the first level, as I said, physiological level, and the steps that you take to prevent that are kind of stress management, stress prevention techniques. And the second level, once you manage stress physiologically, you take yourself out of the fight or flight mode into more of a rest and digest mode, right? The next step is to look at the ways how you take control over your life. What I find, within my practice is that a lot of this, it's like a lot of this kind of state can be traced back to a sense of life being out of control. Like I'm not in control. I'm not in control of my time. I'm not in control of my life. I'm not in control of my career. I'm not in control of what other people are saying, what the company is requiring from me, what the society is requiring me. I'm not in control. So on the personal level, right? So there is like, yes, I think that person who came to you on the podcast, it's really great that he's in that capacity at work where he actually look at this organizationally as an organization, what we can do and what changes we can do, we can implement, on the company level, on the corporate level, on the cultural level. But there's also each person. Some people are not in that position, right? But each person can actually take steps and measures to take that control back one way or another, to feel in control. It doesn't mean that you need to switch a job. One of the the switching point when people find me, right, when they feel like desperate, like this is it, I cannot take one more day anymore, right? So I really need to withdraw myself from this situation, from this career. Maybe I need to, I don't know, go to some tropical island or something. I need to change something drastically. And that gives you a relief for a while, but then all other things will come back if you did not make those internal changes to learn how to take that control back. So It's kind of multi-dimensional how we want to approach that.
Mm-hmm. And what do you say to people that are on the verge of changing jobs, but they're actually burned out? It's not really about taking a vacation, but they like ready to quit. Do you think this is because of the environment they're in, or is there something they could actually do to mitigate the impact?
Yeah, so there's certainly environmental factors, right? So sometimes you get a bad boss, that's what it is, the boss is burned out, right? So and he or she is, placing all those unreasonable demands on you. Sometimes those are external factors. Most of the time, it's our reaction to those factors that kind of accentuates the situation, right? So once we learn how to switch our state and our reactions and our state in response to those external factors, then we're in control. So,
okay, let's talk a little bit about the processes and how people can navigate the burnout first physiologically. Maybe what do you usually recommend them to do?
Right. So I think it's important to understand again, we mentioned that burnout is a stress reaction. What is stress? Stress is a survival mechanism, right? So it has a very important function, evolutionary. When we were in the situation that is threatening to our survival, then we have the stress reaction, right? So if there is a lion somewhere, in a jungle, somewhere hiding in the bush, and you see that lion, all your systems shut down except for one, right? So in that system is that you have to decide in that particular moment what to do, whether to fight or to flee from the situation, right? So that's why it's called fight or flight response. What it does actually, it really mobilizes just one system, your muscular system, right? So your nervous response and your muscular system. At that point, everything is really geared toward the survival. And evolutionary, what happens is that you decide at that moment to fight or to run. So you end that stress cycle with an action, with actually muscular response, right? So you complete that stress cycle this way, and then you continue. There's no more lion. You continue, your merry way, gathering berries or what have you, hunting for other animals. So what's going on in our modern life, right? So we kind of spread that survival threat meaning to things that are not related to survival. So it could be a bad boss, or it could be a threat of layoffs, or it could be lack of communication with your spouse, or it could be wildfires in Australia. So it could be whatever it is. Our system keeps assigning this hyper elevated stress level, threat level to those things, but there is nothing you can do about wildfires in Australia, right? So you never complete that cycle. It just accumulates and accumulates and accumulates. So on the physiological level, what I call the first state of burnout is really to complete that stress cycle, right? And there are three very kind of simple but not easy
Yeah.
easy things that you can do. So one of those is breathing, right? So it's a breath work, and there are multiple techniques to do that. What breath really does, it connects your mind and your body. It oxygenates your body, and it sends the signal to your survival reaction that it's okay, you can actually, you're safe, you're secure, and it switches from that fight or flight mode to rest and digest. There's very simple breath work techniques, there are very complex breath work techniques. The one that I usually like to talk about is the box breathing, and that's when you inhale on the count of 4, and then you hold on the count of 4, and then you exhale on the count of 4, and you hold, right? So like the box. And that helps you. Yeah. So that's why it's called box breathing. And that's how it helps you to calm down, right? To calm down and give you a moment to breathe and contemplate on your next step, on your next reaction.
And on
So
the exhalation, just a question on the technique, Victoria. On the exhalation, do you allow the breath to flow, or do you actually exhale normally? Because some recommend that you apply force when you breathe, like consciously, but then you let the exhalation flow. What is this technique that you're practicing?
Well, I find that it's best to let it flow, but whatever works, actually. I don't think it's that important. The more important is that you focus on your breath, right? And you apply some kind of discipline to that. So it could be on the count of 6. I, for example, do it on the count of 6. You can start with 3 or 4, and then you can prolong, right? So, but it helps to calm down the subconscious system and send the signal to your body to that it's safe. It's safe. The threat has passed. So when it helps you to complete that cycle, the second one is, you know, because as we said, the stress cycle needs to finish with action. You actually have to take action. So that's why movement helps. Not necessarily that you go and run a marathon. It's not that. It's really any kind of movement. It could be stretching, or it could be as simple as clenching the muscles and relaxing a few times. So that actually sends the signal to your system as well that you're secure, you're safe. You can continue with your normal life. Like you can turn on your digestive system, you can turn on your, breathing system, you can turn on your endocrinology system, you can go into rest and digest, right? So all the systems now have a role to play. You don't need to be in that mobilized mode. And the third one, which is also I find it, quite easy and quite effective, is meditation. And it does not need to be, an hour-long meditation or a 10-day silent retreat. It could be, 5-10 minutes, basically, just sitting in a chair and, following your breath and calming down this way. Or there's a number of guided meditations as well. I love those when somebody is actually talking to your ear and guiding you through the meditation. There are a lot of them out there.
That's not really at the peak of the stress moment, because I found myself that whenever I am kind of let's call it stressed, I cannot meditate. I need to first be at peace in order to sit down, lay down, and
exactly. But I think that breathing is probably the first, the first that you reach out to, right? So I think a lot of people actually experience stress this way, that you see that you can't really breathe freely, right? Then you actually force yourself to apply some kind of a discipline, some kind of, rigor to breathing, and follow that and focus on that. And that helps to get out of that, what is it? Reactionary mode, I would say. So that's, I think that everybody should, have this in their arsenal, one of these 3 or all of these 3, and just practice it regularly, because it does help you to just calm down your system and, bring your body, your mind, body, and spirit, bring it to the state where you actually can make a aware decision, right? On what to do next and how to approach this.
And apart from the physical, which is clearly very important, and it's like the basis for any further work, what are some maybe longer term steps in terms of psychology that someone can take?
Right. So, and that's, to your question earlier, well, does it mean that people need to quit their jobs, right? So once you, like, if you breathe deeply, it's not going to solve your, it's not going to solve your motivation problem or your exhaustion. It's going to help you for sure. It's going to kind of take the edge off. But it's not going to kind of sustain the changes. So if you don't make sustainable changes and taking back that control, right? So then this stress technique is kind of like a band-aid, as I said, like a first aid, right? Necessary, but, not necessarily healing, let's put it this way, not sustainable changes. But I think what's good about burnout, if there's anything good about it, is that it is a signal, right? So our systems are actually, our our mind is sending us a signal that something needs to change, right? And for some reason, for some people, it could be that these are external changes. I just changed my environment, right? For most of us, though, I think for 99% of us, it's really these internal changes that you make of how you construct your life and kind of bringing more awareness in how you approach kind of building and creating the life that you want, that allow you to do that regardless of kind of external circumstances. So one of the things that I love to do, and for me, it was definitely the most insightful and the most useful exercise when I was going through a similar experience, is a self-care routine. So there is a lot that people talk about self-care, and a lot of kind of theoretical concept about that. My approach is very practical. So my approach is that, and I'll tell you why it is important. That's kind of that external, internal things that we're talking about. So a lot of cases, you really cannot control much that's happening outside of you, but self-care is something that's entirely in control. That's kind of the empowering piece of that's how you bring control back to yourself. And that's really a practice of replenishing your energy. So the exercise that I like to do, and that brings me a lot of insights and change, like literally magically change my life, is I put a list of 20 things that I like to do. Things that I like to do, not because somebody wants me to, not because they're useful, not because they'll bring me to the next level of my career or give me new skills, just because they bring me joy. And, this list is different from different people, but I'll tell you my experience when I started to put this list together. What could be easier, right? So 20 things that I like to do. I stopped at number 3. It took me 10 days to complete this exercise because at that point, I actually forgot what I like to do.
Oh my God, yeah.
Right.
I can understand how this can happen, yeah.
Right. So if I tell you right now, put together 20 things that you like to do just for the joy of it, just because you're happy to do them, because you like to do them. It could be little things, right? So like I started like, okay, I like to have my cup of coffee in the morning so nobody bothers me, right?
Yeah.
Or it could be I like to sit outside on the terrace and read a book. And that was it. Like, what else do I like? I don't remember anymore. I know what everybody else like around me. I know what everybody else want around me. I know what I'm supposed to do, what I need to do, what my plans are for 3 months, 6 months, in a year. What's the next big launches and what's the revenue goals for that launch, right? But I don't remember what I want to do, what I like to do. So, and then you kind of go through that. It's like, oh, I remember I like to play tennis. Oh, I remember I like to dance. Oh, I remember I like to, I don't know, get massages, whatever it is for you, right? I remember I liked yoga. I remember I hated beach volleyball, but it's like, I'm not going to put that on the list. I tried and I didn't like it, but things that you like to do, and you almost like sometimes that was the case for me. It's like I had to go back to when I was like 7 years old. Like, what did I like to do when I was 7 years old? Because you literally don't remember. You don't remember anymore who you are and what you want. So you put together that list, and the next step is also very simple and also not easy. You do 3 of those every day.
Oh wow, that's not easy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you actually put them on the calendar, right? You put them on the calendar, 3 of those every day, and you track your state. And as I said, some people immediately they go into resistance and say, "Well, I'm already so busy. I already, don't have time to complete what I have on my list, and you want me to do what on top of that?" I said, well, that's why you have little things and you have big things, right? So that's why you have things. Well, maybe I want to, I don't know, maybe I just want to call my friend and chat for 5 minutes,
Yeah.
So everybody can find 5 minutes, or maybe I just want to go outside again, just get some sun for 5 minutes, or maybe I just want to step on the grass barefoot, things like that. It does not have to be, well, now I need to get like 6-hour massage or something, right? So you actually expand from there, and then you start tracking your state. And this is when the miracle happens. You immediately start recharging your energy, because these are the things that you like. You said, so you gave yourself permission to replenish your energy, right? So that 5 minutes with a book on the terrace under the sun is going to make such a huge difference. And people around you start mirroring that as well. So they see your state. More than that, what I actually noticed is that every time now when I am upset, or I'm angry, or I'm unsatisfied in some way, or somebody bothers me or something, I can always 99%, I can trace it back to whether I did my 3 self-care activity a day or not. So my first question now is like, when I experience the reaction of something that I do not like, some negativity, some complaining, something like that, my first question is like, did I do my self-care today? And more often than not, the answer is no, I did not. So then you go back and you replenish your energy that way. Well, it also it reminds you, it start reminding you of who you are. You actually want to expand on that, right? So like, well, I'm doing so well. Now I actually have more energy to accomplish more things. So I can put more things from that list on my calendar, right? So now maybe I have time to find that tennis partner and play tennis again, which also gives me, energy. Or now I actually, can find a group of people to hike with. We're big on hiking in California, so I can go on the hike now, and that gives me so much energy that I actually can accomplish more, and it gives me a sense of control, because I put it on my calendar. I prioritize myself. I gave permission to do this for myself, and then everything else just falls around it. So that's a very powerful exercise that I recommend everyone to try.
I really like it. I have a practice that I started doing probably at the beginning of the year, like a morning practice. And I can concur to what you're saying, that if I miss one day for whatever reason, I feel down afterwards. I need to catch up with this practice, because it's my own personal time, like my gift to my own energy. But I especially like your the detail that you put it in your calendar, because then you're committing to this practice. It's not like you have a way around it. It's the same as having a meeting with somebody, but instead you're having a meeting with yourself. Yeah.
Right, exactly. That's a very important step, especially for people with corporate careers, high achievers, right? Like, we live and die by our calendar. If it's not in calendar, it doesn't exist. So that's a very important step to put in there. And of course, you can move things around, but if you don't put it in the calendar, it's probably not going to happen. So that's kind of that's your commitment to yourself, right? So like, I'm committed to create the life I like. And that starts with the steps, right? With replenishing my energy, finding that energy, and that's how you find your joy, right? So it's, sometimes some of the questions that people ask me, it's like, well, but I love my job. It is my passion. I went to this job because of my passion. There's this myth out there that follow your passion and everything else just falls in place. But there's truth to that, but it's not the entire truth. You can burn out in a job that you love and you're passionate about, right? So you still have to take care of yourself and have that internal control, those internal controls, to actually bring yourself back to the state that helps you to continue living a passion, but at the same time, replenish your energy. So self-care is one of those tools.
It's really all about the level of your energy. Everything depends on it: physical health, emotional health.
Right.
Now, this question might be a bit, it might sound a bit woo, but we started our off-record conversation with, and like you shared something that you've heard from a woman who's done an ayahuasca ceremony and she had a revelation. So my question is related more towards the supernatural natural experiences that you may have once you gain your energy. What are some things that have happened to you? Because you mentioned so many things, explainable and unexplainable, happened to me. What have you experienced when you took your energy back?
Well, I think that a lot of it is really kind of you're like I started to find out, what my passions are, right? And then kind of I started to put value on them. So at some point, I was looking kind of for a new what is that new project? Like I've done this, I've done this, I've done that. What is that new project that I want to put my energy into? And then I personally, for myself, I kind of realized, but you know what? I am my project. I am a unique person, right? So, and I think that for each person, it's the same, right? So there is no one else like you, Zarina, right? So there's no other Zarina in the world. You're absolutely unique and your gifts are unique. And if you're not expressing those gifts and if you're not sharing those gifts with others, then who else is going to do that? Nobody, right? So that's, I think, one of the kind of insights that I had, that that kind of goes hand in hand with that giving priority to yourself and permission to yourself to express your uniqueness, whether it has kind of assigned value to that. So to that extent, I also encourage everyone to explore each and every, creative pursuit that people have, whether you want to paint or you want to sing or you want to play, right? So there is a value in just expressing that creativity, not necessarily what outcome of that creativity is, whether, that painting is the most beautiful in the world or that music is kind of super 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 talented. It's really just the expression of it that has a value. So I think that's kind of what this is. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely. I think my connection was unstable for a second. It makes sense, yes, and I can attest to the fact that once I started doing this practice, and that's why I actually asked you whether you've experienced something in addition, because I noticed that not only was my energy higher, but without even taking any particular focus steps, I was doing my regular daily activities, I started attracting other people and circumstances. So finally, by paying more self-care, paying more attention to myself, people were noticing me more. And
right. Yes.
Not me, the ego's arena, but like how we can collect like the energy. You understand? So
right. Yes, I agree with you.
The supernatural, it's not
Mm-hmm.
a supernatural thing if you think about it. It's just a natural reaction, as you mentioned, of people around you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So what I find is that people start mirroring you. So the next practice that we usually go through, these are like kind of steps, right? So the next step we usually start kind of practicing is gratitude. So what is gratitude? It's actually, if you look at this at the basic level, you make yourself notice things that you like instead of things that you do not like, right? So you look around, it's like, what do I like about this? Instead of like, what do I not like about this? What do I like about my life instead of what I do not like about my life? And then you kind of start putting these pieces together and your brain starts to be very selective in picking those things. So next thing you know, like everything around you is just a miracle, right? Oh my God, I breathe, it's a miracle. The sun is shining every day, it's a miracle, right? Somebody opened the door, it's a miracle. I have my coffee, it's a miracle. So everything around you is a miracle. And what's also happening, like people around you actually start noticing that as well, and they return that to you. So they actually tend to go into that state of gratitude. So you definitely spread it around, right? So long and behold, everybody around you is grateful as well. And it's a totally different state of mind. It's very difficult to complain, to be negative, to be a low energy. That's another kind of energy booster as well. That, oh, well, look at what happened, right? This is great. I'm really grateful for that. Well, I know a customer sent me a thank you note. It never happened before. Now it happened. Thank you very much. I'm going to return that, right? So and there is definitely a mirroring effect from that state as well.
Mhm. Victoria, you do mentoring, but apart from that, you are organizing a retreat in Bali. Tell us a bit about both the
Right.
mentoring
Yeah.
and this retreat. Sounds very interesting.
Yes. So my mentorship is really about that, about creating work-life harmony, right? So if you think if you find yourself as I said, if you find yourself on top of that ladder, it's like, oh, I have everything, and yet I feel like I have nothing, right? If you find yourself kind of in that, I don't know what's next, this is not fulfilling, I want something fulfilling, my soul is asking for something, right? So that's a good time to get a mentor, somebody who actually can to help you to figure out what is it, that life of harmony that you're looking for, how does it feel, how does it look, and then build a practice similar to what we just discussed, those tools that you built into your life that helps you to get to that life that that you love living, right? So create that harmony. So that's kind of the mentorship part, and it's mostly I find that the most practical is really one-on-one work because it's so personalized. Some people they go fast on one skill and it's not that easy on the next skill, right? And it's helpful to have that someone to share that experience and kind of support. And then out of this work is really came the idea of a retreat, right? The retreat is an opportunity to take yourself out of the kind of everyday environment for 10 days and do this how is it, how do I call it, like concentrated practice, right? To figure out what is it that what is it, that life that I want, and how do I get there? And it's where we are going to do kind of practices to harmonize your mind, body, and spirit, right? So there's definitely a health component to that because from an energy perspective, especially if you're a high achiever, you're kind of like an athlete, right? So if your body doesn't perform the way it's supposed to, you don't have that energy to actually perform during your job. So there's some health component to that. There is an intellectual component like masterminds, right? Master classes about these practices. And then there is the spiritual component. How do we practice that? So how do we practice authentic connection? How do we do, what is the energy, energy practices that we can maybe, experiment with? And it's in Bali, right? So Bali is really saturated with this
Energy of peace.
with this unique yeah, with this unique, really unique environment and unique energy of the place and the healing energy of the place. And we're definitely going to build on that and kind of Balinese culture. The whole Balinese culture is really about harmony between a person, a community, and the nature. So that's very conducive to this kind of work.
Mm-hmm. Fantastic. How can people learn about the retreat, get a hold of you? Share your contacts, please.
Right, exactly. So I can be found the retreat. I'm doing this with the collaboration with Atlantis Institute. So we have a website, atlantis.institute/retreat. The people can find the agenda for me. You can find me on LinkedIn, Victoria Mensch. And if you're interested in learning more about any of that, book an appointment. I'll be happy to answer any questions. And it would be great to see people in October in our Bali retreat. Come, Zarina, come.
I'm actually thinking about it already.
Yeah,
Sounds really enticing.
yeah, yeah. It'd be very unique. It's kind of yeah, so a lot of it is really kind of turning into this a creation mode, right? So I'm a creator of my life, like I'm in control of my life, right? So I'm a creator of my life. So whatever comes, whatever life gives me, whatever comes my way, I'll do what I want out of it. So
Yeah. Uh-huh. It sounds amazing. Thank you so much for sharing all of these tips, processes of
yes,
what do you call them? Methods of getting out of
practices, tools, yes.
practices. Yes. Mhm.
Yeah.
Thank you. These are
Yeah.
very useful. I love the 20 things I like to do. It's a genius approach.
Oh,
Yes.
thank you, Zarina. Thank you. Let me know how it goes.
Yes, yes. I'll start doing that. This is probably a list that I haven't done, or maybe I've done it years ago, something similar, but I like it.
Mhm.
You can put it in
Yeah.
your calendar, and
Fantastic.
it's a fantastic
Fantastic.
process. Yeah.
Yeah.
Practice. Thank you, Victoria. I enjoyed it. It was
Yes.
good fun talking to you and useful. I hope it was useful for everyone else listening and watching.
Thank you so much for having me, Zarina.
My pleasure, Victoria. Thank you for listening to Grow and Learn. We hope that you found our podcast informative, engaging, and inspiring. Our mission is to help you keep growing and learning, and we hope that our conversations and insights have provided you with practical advice and useful perspectives. If you're looking for personalized support and guidance to help you achieve your personal or professional growth objectives, I offer a range of services to help. As a trusted management partner and mentor, I work with businesses in the process of transformation, looking for new streams of business, as well as M&A. With an extensive professional network of experts and mentors, I can bring on board the right person or team based on the specific needs of the company I'm working with. To learn more about the services I offer and how I can help you achieve your goals, visit my website at growandlearn.org. You can also reach out to me via email or social media. I'd love to hear from you. And if you enjoyed this episode of Grow and Learn, please subscribe to our podcast and leave us a review. Your feedback is important to us, and it helps us to continue to create content that is relevant and valuable to our listeners. Thanks again for listening, and we look forward to sharing more insights and perspectives with you in the future.